Hey, yo, what's up? The disciple Marshall Occurrence reign back up in this anti-Illuminati all day, anti-Latinapity all day, anti-America all day, anti-cop all day, and everybody with him, yeah. So, this message is going to be about white entitlement, black entitlement, and the problems thereof, What white entitlement is to me, white entitlement is passed down from generation to generation. It's passed down from all the people that sat back and act like they were superior to other people. This mentality has been passed down to generation. So people come into stores, and that's why y'all made a term Karens, and you have the Karens of the world. These are people that are just entitled to go through. They just step over other people, and they just feel entitled to this, entitled to that, entitled to this, entitled to that. This is what I call white entitlement. It runs deep. It runs real deep, and you will be surprised how much people would do for white entitlement in America. It's not just as simple as putting your order above everyone else's in Starbucks. It's not. It's deeper than that. It's deeper than who gets what. As far as the lion's share of the money that is given out, white entitlement feels that they deserve it because you got to understand whether you agree with it or not. The structures of this country, white Americans are very responsible for the metropolises. The metropolises, listen to me, listen to me. The metropolises were built by white Americans, by the white community, so they feel a sense of entitlement just based off of that. Like this is what they built. Because at the end of the day, we know black people didn't build these metropolises. I'm talking about the businesses thereof. That's what I'm talking about. We could there are some, but let's just keep it. Let's just come on. Let's talk about averages here. The average of metropolises, all of them were built by white people here in America, specifically. So that perspective right there, that truth, the obvious, that's facts. It's dead, but that is incorporated into white entitlement. You know what I mean? This is what makes them justify walking around on top of everybody because they feel like their family and their race is what made all of this possible. You know what I'm saying? So you have to understand that. To understand you got to get that part to understand white entitlement. All the rest of the people have to understand that part because if you don't understand that, then you're not going to connect to why they feel the way they feel, where it even comes from. It comes from them looking around and realizing that their families did build these metropolises, did build these mega corporations and businesses that we come to hold dear in our lives, whether it's restaurants or department stores, all of that. And this is where they look around with a sense of pride. Think about it. They're human too. They look around and see that they did all of it. They looking at everybody else like, you should be submitted to us. That's how they looking at it. You know what I mean? So that's beyond the raping of the land, which I agree with. That's beyond all of that. How the indigenous people, the Native Americans were treated. That's beyond that. I'm talking about the metropolises, the stuff that's built here. They are responsible for it. So how would you feel? I'm not saying the right, correct way to be, but if you're not necessarily trying to be correct and you're just being human, then you're going to look around and think that and realize you're responsible for all of this clock ticking. You're responsible for that. And with that can come arrogance and pride and evil, straight out evil to protect your authority over what you've built. That's human, and that is where a lot of white entitlement comes from. And that's what these white Americans walk around being a patriot. That's what it fuels it. What they've built. You have to understand this to understand white entitlement. But it doesn't make it right. If you're gonna have other people here, you're gonna have other nations here. Then, as a human sound of mind, because you can be overtaken by the people that you don't respect. So if all these people are here, white Americans gotta start to begin to respect the people that could overtake them. They gotta begin to respect the people that surround them. That's just wisdom. That's just in wisdom. That's just in wisdom. So, and if you are a person of humanity, then you realize that now you're starting to share the building process. Now you have the foundation. Yes. Now look at the culture. Look at what African Americans are responsible for culturally speaking. All the things that you enjoy, all the things that your children enjoy. The music, the movies, a lot of these things. But some people would just say, some white people would just say, that's tap dancing. That's not enough. That's not enough for us to feel like we need to share this empire that we built. You got some people feel like that. That's human too. But the bottom line is that if people are going to be here, they have to be treated with the same respect, and they have to be treated with respect financially as well, and far as building an empire as well. All of it, respect has to come into play when you look at the overall picture. That's where you dismantle white entitlement. It's looking at the overall pictures of history here, how the African slaves did help build foundations, and also the building on this land that belonged to the Native Americans. With looking at the full portrait of the situation, one will dismantle one's own white entitlement. Okay. Now, the other problem is African entitlement, African American entitlement. I first want to say you do deserve retribution for slavery, and this is why I believe it. Not just to say, it was wrong or it was inhuman. It was. We all know that our studiers, people that study history and all of that, we all know that it went on all around the world. It didn't just go on in America. We all know that. We all know that African slaves here in America were not the only slaves in the world. In fact, some people would say it didn't even make up 50% of the slave trade in the world. But however, it does deserve retribution here in America because you based on empires are important. So if you have people that work, and every man looks to leave something to his family, he looks to leave something to the generations after him, and he has nothing to leave to his lineage to make it easier for them, and to make every generation better, then you understand what retribution is all about. Because that's what white people here in America, that's what you set out to do. That's what your parents and the parents before them set out to do, was to make things easier and to make empires, to make lives better for the generations coming, not harsher, not worse. That doesn't even make sense. You want to look to the future and say, I don't want my family to have to live in the conditions that I'm living in. That by the time they come along, they have this, that, and the third. So that's what retribution should be all about. It's understanding empires and understanding that, generations should be getting better one after the other. You know what I mean? So that's what, and also understanding empires too, understanding the whole all at the whole empire for the whole ethnicity of African American. There's no empire. There are people that build their individual empires, but they're like awkward houses put in the neighborhood of white Americans. That's the only way I can describe it. That's not what I'm shooting for. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about empire, an empire that umbrellas, if you will, the whole African American community. You know, where they have different avenues and everything for their own people. You know, that's what would happen generation after generation is empires will be built. That's what white Americans have, and that's what keeps them basically on top. You know, and that's why it's such a struggle with the political part, and that's why I said all this is going on because that keeps basically that keeps to a degree the white American empire afloat. So that has to be manipulated. That's what this is all about, and that's what the country needs to know. That's what black people need to know. That's what you need to know. That's what this is all about. This is all about keeping the white American empire afloat. You know what I'm saying? Look at all that happened right after Obama was in office. You know, I think everything went decently with Obama, but it should have been more of an emphasis on building and creating the African American empire. When he was in there should have been a lot more going on at the speed of light. African Americans should have been running at the speed of light, but they didn't. And what happened after he came out of office was that white American began to abstract all the progress that he had made African American wise. That's why you had Donald Trump come back in, and you had Joe Biden that was submitted to him. You know, that's just my opinion. He comes back in, has someone submit to him that's of color because he submitted to someone of color. You know, you have all these things going on to, therefore, to a certain degree, keep the white empire afloat in America. Because like I said earlier, they are responsible for building all these great metropolises that you enjoy, all these neighborhoods that you even get tatted on your neck and your back came from white America. Black America didn't make half of the name of these neighborhoods. So all these names and all these streets, all are named by white America, which you are willing to die for and put on your neck and all this. This don't belong to you. These streets, and I'm gonna do a video on that. These streets and names of these streets and all of this, you come to enjoy all of this on this land and none of it belongs to you. None of it is named by black people. You got it all on your neck and chest and everything. Okay, but black entitlement. Now I told you, retribution should be given. I told you why. To build an empire, for the African American to have an empire, and for his generations to do better and better from generation to generation. Okay, that's a fact. You know, I feel that they're entitled to that, but there still is an entitlement that they're starting to get. The mentality of entitlement. They're starting to get this from white Americans. They're starting to get their own sense of entitlement. And this may come from history, even self-awareness. And you just feel that black people, whether it being here, you're just entitled to certain things. One thing I must say, no humans are entitled for everyone to love you. No, this has never been done in history. This is one goal that you cannot set out to think you're going to achieve. It's not going to happen. everyone is not going to love you. Everyone is not going to embrace you. Your parents taught you this as kids. As kids, you were taught what? Everybody's not your friend, right? I know my parents taught me that. Everybody ain't your friend. You know what I'm saying? And this is what you gotta keep in mind, obviously getting older, that everyone doesn't have your best intentions in mind. Everyone doesn't love you. I gotta say that specifically. It's one thing, people should have good intentions that are in power over you. They should. But where you think that people are just gonna not say this and say that, it should be handled on national platforms. Yes. Also, that should be cleaned up. It shouldn't be nothing someone is per se saying that is hate language. But disagreement language needs to be allowed. Correction language needs to be allowed. No one goes throughout this world, not even me, my friend, that goes without correction. And this is where we're coming to it, in a place where now, because people are African American, you can't say nothing to them, you can't correct them. And this is becoming a form of entitlement. I'm entitled for protection because I'm black. I'm entitled for no one to say nothing to me. And no one, you better not say nothing to me. And it's just like, and this is a sense of entitlement. Now no one can correct you, no one can say nothing to you, and if they do, they will lose jobs, they will lose this or that and the third. And sometimes, quite frankly, it's black people holding on to a sense of entitlement. It's not, it's like let's look at all the individual cases. Sometimes is it just that a black person is wrong? Sometimes is it just misunderstanding or saying something that's awkward, as opposed to straight up hate language. Straight up hate language and someone that is proactive against you. Is it that? Or is it what I just said? Awkward language, correction that you need. Because no human beings can walk this earth without correction. And when you start thinking you can, that's also entitlement of the black community. When you just think nobody can say nothing to you, you're just entitled to just walk the earth without anyone saying something to you. These are forms of entitlement, guys. You show that by the rebuke that you give every single time when someone said, or the rejection that you give every single time. Someone tries to correct you, someone tries to say something concerning the things that's going on, you hide behind, don't say this to me because that's racism. And you begin to look like an endangered species. I'm just telling you the truth. That no one can say something to, no one can say nothing to. We gotta, I gotta be careful. I gotta hold you with dear care without offending you. And you're a grown person that should have by now, being out in the world, especially in America, you should by now have grown tough skin to where, like, to me, you can't hurt me with certain words. You can't hurt me with the N word, really, and unless I feel, I have to, if you're trying to fight, what I'm saying? That's a different situation, and I'm gonna look at it like that. But like hurting me, like really hurting my feelings, and you can't do that with words. Period. Pretty much, no words can at this age that I am can harm me, can hurt me. And so, in the middle of correcting white America or any other people, grow tough skin. Still grow tough skin. You need tough skin to survive. Okay, that's a fact. So if you do find people that are racist, you do find people that are saying stuff that's wrong and incorrect about history or whatever else, still do grow tough skin. Still do grow tough skin. And you will find out when you start growing tough skin, hey, maybe I'm just being sensitive myself. You know what I'm saying? Instead of, looking at what's really being said, because really equal treating is going to come with criticism. Being treated special is racism. When you're treated special, that is a sense of racism. Ooh, let's give them their own month, Black History Month. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with Black History Month, but you see how it is? It's like, let's give them their month. And then what all you see on TV is the same stuff showing you where you from. There's no progression with Black History Month. We're not talking now. If Black History Month was progressive, then yeah, where you could go and see them talking about the issues, and you got real conventions and things going on Black History Month, where it's progressive to right now and relevant according to right now. But you don't see that though. All you see is people going backwards, looking at the same stuff year in and year out. And what Black History Month should be, if especially when you're thinking in a sense of being equal with everyone else, not being held above or in this endangered species position, then what you do is you begin to be progressive. You begin to use Black History Month as a tool and to utilize to be progressive about what's going on right now concerning the Black community. That's what should have been happening. That's how it should have been properly utilized. But there's also the spiritual part of Black entitlement too that I see, and I have to address. Because there are people that feel that they are the original Jews and the original Hebrews. Now, here's my take on it. This is what I personally believe. There's going to be every race involved, basically, in everything, because humanity is spread everywhere, okay? So, specifically concerning the African American community, there's definitely going to be African Jews and African Hebrews. I do believe that because it's just common sense. There's going to be an African tribe among the Jews. That's just common sense to me. But what I feel happens is that people begin to have this African over everybody kind of mentality, which African is everything, and which to the point where Jesus is even African, totally African. And it's just like this perspective just sees everything, the African as original in every dimension, in every dynamic. He has to be there because he's original. He's the original man. That's where this really comes from. And to me, that's where I disagree. I think some people are just who they are. I think some people are just who they are in other places. It's just like, it's not every man, it's not one man, everywhere he takes credit for everything, every race takes credit for all things. Nah, I don't believe that. I don't believe that. You know what I'm saying? You got the Native Americans who were here. They were, it may have been Africans here with them, but they are definitely the real indigenous people that were here before everybody else. What we see as Cherokee, Navajo, Blackfoot, all the different tribes here. Though they were who they were. They were not, quote unquote, African. Okay? Now were there some probably here that came, African tribes that came here from South America and migrated and did, something like that? Maybe, yeah. Or from the islands and then came here, maybe, yeah. But just to be like, okay, that's how I feel. Just to be like, to ignore Cherokees and to ignore all them and say, well, Black people were the indigenous people here. That's ludicrous. That's ludicrous, man. We clearly see they here. They didn't have any staged plan to dismantle Africans from history. You know, they're not that type of people. So it would be ludicrous to act like they were not the dominant indigenous people in North America, what we call America. Okay. Um, what I feel is this is like what they really kind of did with the Jews. The Jews are who they are, you know, and it's just like going to a land, like as if being here with the Native Americans, and then saying that your people were here, and they really are the real indigenous people. It's the same thing. You know what I'm saying? We gotta watch that. You know what I'm saying? In my opinion, it's just because it's something that basically it's the mentality that everyone has. Some white people want Jesus to be white or fair skinned, non-African, and some people want Jesus to be black, African. Everyone wants Jesus to be their race. Everyone wants their special people to be their race, or the chosen people, the Israelites to be their race, the Hebrews to be their race. You know, and we have to realize, just like the Native Americans is a perfect example. They're not white, they're not black. You can't they are who they are. They are where they were at. They were where they were at. We can't take over and say everything was African or white. I'm gonna come back with part 2 on this.